Yeah. I wanted to ask you a couple questions I have, if I can open up with those,
Yes,
about
please.
some of your thoughts, uh, particularly on two couple of topics. One of them is the idea that you have of evictionism.
Hmm.
In my work, I work as a libertarian activist
Oh.
in the Republican Party, and I deal with a lot of pro-life people
Hmm.
and how to address them and how to talk to them. A lot of my friends advocate your philosophy of evictionism as a way of approaching them from a libertarian perspective. Can you explain that?
Uh-huh. Yes. Well, I'm really a pro-life kind of person. I like human life. I'm pro-life. The problem is that not only is the American people and the world's people very much bitterly at odds on this, but so is the libertarian movement. For example, I think two libertarians who need no introduction to us would be Ron Paul and Murray Rothbard. And Ron Paul is an avid pro-life person, and Murray Rothbard is a pro-choice person, and they're polar opposites. And my evictionist theory is an attempt to uh, not compromise, but an attempt to apply libertarian principle. It happens that it is a compromise, but it's not because, like if you say 2 plus 2 is 4 and I say 2 plus 2 is 6, an unprincipled compromise would be, well, let's split the difference and call 2 plus 2 5. That would be unprincipled because there's no reason to pick 5. But there is a reason to pick evictionism rather than pro-choice or pro-life. And the reason is libertarianism is sort of predicated on property rights. The key element is property rights. Who owns the property in question? And the property in question, it seems to me, is the woman's womb, her body. Uh, and she's the owner of it. I can't think of anyone else who owns it. Now, let's take the case of rape, which is the starkest case of pregnancy. A woman is walking down the street and she gets grabbed and impregnated, and now there's something growing in her. Well, what do we call that? I call it trespass. Now, it's true that the fetus, and by the way, when does human life start? In my view, it starts with a fertilized egg. Why? Because the sperm alone and the egg alone will not eventuate in the human being, but the fertilized egg, if it's put in the right environment, will become a human being. So it's a very young human being, the fertilized egg. That's a human being. But this human being, it lacks mens rea, namely, it's not guilty. The rapist's dad is the bad guy, but the fetus is totally innocent. The fetus is a result of rape, but it's sitting in this woman's body, and I say it's a trespasser. Now, what do you do with trespassers? Well, if you step on my lawn, I don't think I have a right to take a bazooka and shoot you. I have to come to you and say, hey, do you realize you're on my lawn? Please step off. And if you say, oh, sorry, I didn't know, I didn't realize, and you get off, well, that's it. The point is, I think in libertarianism, we have to remove the trespasser in the gentlest manner possible, as with the guy who's walking on your lawn in the gentlest manner possible. Tell him, and hopefully he'll just get off. There was this wonderful case by Judith Jarvis Thompson, a philosopher, who says you go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning and there's somebody in bed with you, and you're connected to this person, a violinist she picked, with some sort of umbilical cord. And you turn to this person in bed with you and say, well, how come you to be in bed with me? And he says, well, I don't know. Last night I was in a hospital and I was on a kidney dialysis machine, and I assumed that some renegade crazy doctors drugged me, drugged you, attached you and me together, and now I'm using your what do you call it, kidneys. And well, this is a clear case of trespass, but the guy is innocent. So do you have a right to just shoot him? No, I don't think. I think that would be too harsh. Do you have a right to take a scissors and cut the umbilical cord? No, I don't think that's the gentlest manner of removing him. I think what you do is you call other doctors, not renegade doctors, but legitimate doctors, and say, hey, disconnect us and put this guy back on a kidney dialysis machine, and that's it. So I think that the mother has a right to evict the fetus, back to the raped victim mother. She has a right to evict the fetus, just as you have a right to evict this violinist who's in bed with you, but not to kill him. Now, it just so happens that in the third trimester, you can, seventh, eighth, and ninth month, you can evict the fetus without killing it, and then you have an obligation to not kill it. And if you do this partial birth abortion thing where you suck out the brains of the baby while the baby is in you, and then you give birth to a dead baby, well, that's just plain old ordinary murder, and you should go to jail for that, and so should any doctor who does that. Now, but on the other hand, so therefore, if we adopt evictionism, we save all babies in the third trimester, assuming 1/3 of babies, assuming that the babies are spread out over the 9 months. Immediately, we save 1/3 of all babies. But that's with today's technology. Tomorrow's technology, or in 10 years or whenever it is, we might be able to save babies in the 6th month, and in 30 years, maybe in the 5th month, and certainly in 200 years, we'd be able to save all babies because you could then, I assume, with better technology, be able to remove a fetus at any age of development. And if we adopt evictionism, then we pro-lifers will win. Whereas if we don't adopt evictionism, which I think is true not just because of the strategic point I'm making now, we're going to lose. Even when even when you can evict the fetus without hurting it, we still won't be able to because we pro-lifers are now losing the war, the intellectual moral war. I mean, the law of the land is, what do you call it, pro-choice. So the idea here is right now in the first trimester, you can evict, but eviction means killing. So it is a true compromise. For the last trimester, in effect, we're pro-life, and in the first 2 trimesters, we're pro-choice. And I think it's a true principled compromise, not like this 2 + 2 = 5, because getting back to property rights, it's the woman's body. She has a right to evict but not kill. And abortion really, the complication is that abortion really isn't one thing. Rather, abortion is 2 things. Abortion is first evicting and then killing, 2 separate things, and we have to deal with each one separately. We just can't talk about abortion. We have to talk about eviction. Are you allowed to evict? Yes. Kill? No. That's murder. So that, I think, would be the proper libertarian view, and that Ron Paul and Murray Rothbard are both wrong, and all people who are pro-choice and pro-life are wrong. That is wrong on libertarian grounds, because I think this is the only correct libertarian view. So that's the 5-minute version of evictionism.